Nothing about the waters of Earth holds more terrifying, mysterious, and unbelievable predators than the ancient Western Interior Seaway. You think you know sea monsters? You are wrong. You picture the dinosaurs. You picture the T-Rex reigning on dry land. This is a simplification. A human-centric fantasy. The common narrative isolates the terrors of the ocean from the terrors of the shore. This separation is a fundamental lie. The map of ancient North America is a delusion. It was not a single landmass. It was bisected. Sliced open by a vast, shallow, sunlit tropical ocean. 600 miles wide at its peak. This seaway was a colossal, warm, vibrant aquarium, cutting the continent in half, stretching from the Gulf of Mexico into the Arctic Circle. This environment should have been a nursery. A mild boundary. Instead, it became the ultimate evolutionary forge. A hyperproductive soup where the rules of gigantism and aggression were rewritten. You imagine deep-sea pressure creating behemoths. The seaway possessed no such darkness. It was shallow. Bathing in tropical sun. Yet, within this warm, sunlit crucible, life amplified. It became larger. It became faster. It became specialized into unimaginable weaponry. Imagine a marine reptile, 50 feet long, powered by dense, serpentine musculature. Imagine the apex predator of this place. It wasn't a shark. It was a mosasaur. A creature whose existence proves that evolution favors extreme specialization when the biological furnace runs hot enough. What happens when the apex land hunter shares the same ecosystem with the apex marine hunter? What happens when the tectonic pressure of a young continent feeds an already boiling biological reaction? The answer is terror codified into bone and tooth. The true scale of predation here dwarfs the familiar creatures of our modern oceans. The paradox is this: how did a temporary, relatively shallow body of water generate creatures so perfectly engineered for terminal violence that they make the Tyrannosaurus rex look like a clumsy infant? The answer lies in the architecture of their bodies. In the physics they exploited. But the true horror was yet to come. The mechanism of their lethality required an engineering unseen anywhere else on the planet. A biological sabotage system running below the surface. Consider the ankylosaurid. Not a swimmer, but a tank lumbering on the muddy shores of this vast inland sea. Its defense is not subtle. It is a blunt instrument of catastrophe. This tail club is not merely bone. It is a hydraulic impact weapon. A dense mass of fused osteoderms, powered by hyperdense, flexible musculature. Think of the torque required. Thousands of pounds of swinging force, calibrated to shatter the femurs of a charging ceratops. It does not strike. It pulverizes. It snaps the structural integrity of its target. Now shift focus to the warm, murky shallows. The true masters of this temporary universe. The Tylosaurus. 50 feet of aquatic torpedo. Its primary weapon is a skull structured like an armored battering ram, designed for high-velocity ambush strikes against heavily armored prey. This creature does not chew. It impacts. Its teeth, serrated and curving inward, function as bone-grinding pulverizers. When the 60,000 newtons of bite force land, the serrations act like saw blades, reducing calcified structures to the consistency of coarse sand. The internal architecture of its jaw must resist total catastrophic rupture on every engagement. Beneath these leviathans swim things even more unsettling. The Parapiscotus cephalopod. Weighing 1.5 tons, possessing musculature that belies its gelatinous form. Its beak alone could shear through thick hide. This was not an ecosystem of competition. This was an arms race dictated by tectonic instability. A race where the only winning move was terminal overkill. We must visualize the internal structure. You see the fossilized shape. We must see the machine beneath the chassis. Look inside the Deinosuchus, an alligator analog that dwarfed modern crocodiles. It's skeletal. Reinforcement is excessive. Its musculature appears almost impossibly dense, channeling raw power through tendons thicker than steel cable. This is biological overengineering. A response to the necessity of killing armored tanks in warm, shallow water where leverage is limited. And the Triceratops. Its immense frill is not just defense. It is a counterweight. A complex cantilever system designed to stabilize the head against side strikes from a 50-foot marine predator attempting to breach the surface. The horns are titanium analogs, grown not for display, but for direct, opposing force against the largest terrestrial carnivores. Their internal bone scaffolding shows the incredible stress loads these titans manage simply by existing. This is physiology pushed to the absolute breaking point of known biology. The environment demands this engineering. The seaway itself is the invisible antagonist. It is not the abyssal cold that drives evolution here. It is the opposite. Extreme heat. Extreme biological productivity. The water is warm, oxygen-rich, and flush with nutrients, a natural growth accelerator. This tropical intensity favors gigantism. It favors aggression because the resources are too rich to share gently. Imagine the visual umwelt of this place. The light penetration is deep in the clear zones, but often choked by suspended sediment near the coasts. A perpetual, sun-drenched twilight in the deeper areas. Predators rely less on sight and more on acute mechanoreception. They read the subtle vibrations transmitted through the water column. The heavy, rhythmic paddling of a massive plesiosaur creates a sonic signature that travels for miles through this dense medium. The silence itself becomes a weapon. The perfect absence of movement before the strike. The sensory input here is chaotic. Tectonic plate collision sends low-frequency tremors across the continental crust, felt miles deep in the water, creating an underlying, constant anxiety in the inhabitants. This high-energy, unstable environment cycles life fast. Apex species rise and fall in geological moments. 70 million years ago, the continental architecture shifts again. The uplifting forces that defined Laramidia and Appalachia reverse. The Western Interior Seaway begins to drain. It retreats. The vast, warm ocean vanishes. The marine horrors are stranded, then desiccated. But the evolutionary code remains. The need for specialized weaponry forged in that aquatic crucible does not disappear. It transfers. It adapts to the floodplain that remains, the Hell Creek Formation. The extreme specialization becomes the terrestrial standard. The need for massive bone-crushing bite forces, the need for impenetrable armor plating, the need for long-range aerial dominance, all perfected in the seaway, now inherit the land. The dromaeosaur's slashing claws, the tyrannosaur's hydraulic jaw, the pachycephalosaur's armored dome, they are all echoes of the hyperlethal arms race held in that ancient, forgotten aquarium. We study the asteroid impact. We study the volcanoes. We focus on the end. But we ignore the engine that drove the system to its maximum destructive potential just before the climax. The environmental catalyst. The creatures of the Seaway and Hell Creek represent evolutionary extremes. Specialized killing architecture that dwarfs modern biology. We define apex by human metrics. By the relative size of our own brains compared to our body mass. But if apex is defined by the sheer, optimized lethality of specialized physical weaponry, the hydraulic piston of the tail, the bone-grinding pulverizer of the jaw, then we are not the pinnacle. We are merely the current iteration.